Hello and welcome to My Body, My Power podcast, where we shine our light, claim our worth, and empower the next generation. I'm your host, Kristen Rubis, a heart-led entrepreneur, mentor, and the creator behind the My Body, My Power movement. Here, we uncover authenticity, celebrate self-expression, and create a life and career that lights up the world. Welcome, Goddess. Let's dive in. Hello, My Body, My Power podcast listeners. Welcome back to our next episode. I'm Kristen, your host, and I have the great honor of having an empowering conversation with Rebekah. Welcome, Rebekah.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the amazing work you're doing in the world.
My name is Rebekah, and I am the creator of Wu Xing Witch. And what I like to call myself is I am a cosmic catalyst, primarily for women who are in their midlife awakening. And it's basically the ones who've kind of spent all those years doing all the right things, ticking all the boxes, but can't seem to shake off that deep inner knowing that something is actually quite profoundly off. I would say, in terms of what makes my work unique, is I like to bridge Eastern and Western cosmic wisdom systems. So I basically kind of translate ancient wisdom into practical tools for those who are ready to trust their inner knowing over everything else. What I primarily work with are through the lens of Chinese astrology and Western astrology, but I also tend to weave in other Chinese metaphysical systems like feng shui and Qi and date selection, along with human design and gene keys if I see fit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful. Do you want to explain any of the things, just as far as the things that you're incorporating that you just said? Because some of us might not know what the more Chinese-directed modalities and methods are.
Yeah. Okay. So with astrology, it is very much a solar-based astrology, and it actually is quite resonant with Western astrology because both systems do follow the sun's movements around the earth. They are very much systems that are based on the northern hemisphere. So there's a lot of kind of sort of resonance and correlations between the two. So primarily I work with astrology. It's where you get a sense of who you are, what your potential is, based on the natural cosmic blueprint that is inherent from the time of your birth. So that's astrology.
Beautiful.
With feng shui, I think that is the one that's kind of like more commonly known in the Western world. It's very much about harnessing the flow of your external environment. So you are setting yourself up for success by, you could say, manipulating, you could say working with the flow of qi that is in your external environment. With the likes of qi, this is very much, it used to be used as military strategy in ancient China, but now it is used very much in like strategic forecasting. So it allows you to kind of look ahead at things that are unseen to kind of anticipate what are the likely outcomes for certain decisions that you make. And it gives you a chance to sort of course correct when you don't really have any other sort of logical data to kind of back anything that you think might be swaying your actions or decisions one way or the other.
Okay.
From the perspective of a destiny analysis, if you look at that from a destiny chart point of view, it does give you an insight into kind of your subconscious mind, your inner workings, the parts of you that you may not necessarily be aware of, but sort of running in the background.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm glad I asked. So what was a defining moment in your life that changed the way you see yourself in the world?
I would say there's kind of really sort of two interconnected moments.
Yeah.
The first one was when my father died, and that was kind of towards the end of 2017. So that, I would say, was very much the spark. It was very much the moment that kind of really broke everything open, because I kind of felt like I was on the trajectory where I was doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing: study hard, do well, get married, settle down, have an office job, all those sorts of things. Tick, 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 tick. And then after he died, it kind of became this sort of catalyst for me to really kind of go deep within, to really question everything, and very much coming to this whole sense of, is this what it's about? But having said that, it was very much the spark. But what really accelerated the growth and evolution of the path that I'm currently on is very much when I was pregnant with my youngest, because that pretty much added fuel to the fire. I know fully well that he's not really the cause of it, but it seems like all the chain of events that followed after he was conceived, like that's when I lost my job and all that stuff. And it was one thing after another, and then obviously COVID hit. So which was a really joyous time for so many of us.
Wow.
And so I kind of felt like that was really what led me to enter the dark night of the soul. And that's when I really felt like I had the choice to either sink deeper or find ways and means through my practices to move myself through it and past it and towards what we would consider to be the light.
Sounds like an interesting journey that you were on. Okay, well, what pain or struggle have you turned into a source of power or purpose?
I would say it's very much, you could call it the witch wound, but it's very much a wound that a lot of us seem to have. It's the wound of silencing the voices of the feminine, and that kind of runs really deep, and to the point where most of us aren't even conscious about it at all. And if I'm to sort of reference it from an astrological point of view, I have Chiron in my third house, and it's the house of communication. So it's very much a placement that kind of reveals the deepest wounds in terms of speaking up, taking up space, and really asserting my voice. And also, my Mercury is conjunct my Lilith as well in the 12th house. So it's very much about bringing out those truths, the ones that you feel you've had to suppress, or you're being shamed for having them, to the point where you feel the need to shrink yourself, to make yourself small, or to keep yourself silent. And I feel like with the struggles that I've had with keeping quiet to keep the peace, with not really articulating in ways that other people understand, like how I feel, because I didn't feel like I could, that in doing so, by keeping myself silent and small, that I was really doing myself a disservice. And I kind of felt like it got to a point where once you've really reached rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. And that's when I decided, well, I don't want to stay here anymore, right at the bottom. And that's when I kind of recognized the only way in which I can really ascend to go up and out of this depth of despair. It's very much to actually use my voice to speak my truth, to really articulate what it is that's within me, that needs to be expressed It's to also communicate to other people what it is that I need so they can also give the gift of that reciprocal giving, because otherwise it's very much a one-way relationship where I wouldn't even consider it a relationship. It kind of feels like it's a one-way traffic of me just constantly giving out, being the mother, the nurturer, the this, the that. And there's nothing coming back in towards me to fill my cup. And I wasn't also filling my own cup. So therefore, I feel like with the speaking up and out, speaking my truth, that's encouraged me to therefore also work with other women in particularly as to how they can also go about turning into their inner wisdom in order to discover their truth and then to articulate it as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I think a lot of us have gone through the dark night of the soul and just hitting those really dark, low places. And, for me, I've been in the past so much about peace, love, and light and just sticking to the positivity. And, the world needs more positivity. So that was just my journey and my expression. But once other things happen in your life that just bring you to the depths of that darkness and shadow, it's like, I just feel like I'm a more balanced human walking through the darkness and coming back into the light. It just kind of helps us to just connect with humanity in a deeper way, because we all go through those experiences. And when we can bring more consciousness to it, I think that's when it can really, really help uplift us. And then the people in our lives and our communities too can benefit from that transformation and initiation, if you will. So thank you for sharing that. Well, what does my body, my power mean to you?
I would say that it is recognizing that my body holds a lot of cosmic intelligence that my mind has been trained, conditioned, or gaslit to override. I would say that for a lot of us, and for me especially, it's like there has always been this overemphasis on what goes on in the mind. And it feels like for a very long time that it sort of supersedes and overrides everything, that it's always everything that comes through the mind, everything that comes through logic has to take precedence over everything else. If it cannot be explained through logic, if it cannot be reasoned with, then those things are to be dismissed or discounted, and they are deemed not as important. But what I've learned over the years is that the mind is a very good measuring tool, and it is very good at recognizing patterns based on previous experiences. But what is not very good at doing is being predictive from the point of looking at what are the likely outcomes from experiences and possibilities that it doesn't have any existing data of. So therefore, this is where the connection with our inner knowing and the connection with our body, I feel that is when it's exceptionally important, because the body remembers. And you can try to consciously reprogram all you want. But the fact is that most of our programming is in the subconscious, and that's kind of stored within the body itself. So even if your mind wants to push through, if you cannot bring your body, your nervous system on board, then nothing is really going to move. So that's why I feel like the body's intelligence is something that needs to be reconnected with. It's something that we need to celebrate as much as we do with our mental intelligence, and not to put anyone on a particular pedestal. But at the same time, when it comes to the body's wisdom, it's also a means of us not just reconnecting with ourselves, but also reconnecting with nature as a whole, because we are of nature and we are nature. And by having that disconnection with our own bodies, I feel like that then disconnects us with nature and the life force that holds all of it in general. And I feel like then it then it means that we are more disconnected with the one source, universe, with all this divine energy of creation that we are inherently a part of.
Beautiful. Wow, thank you. That got my heart. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How did you discover your unique gifts or message, and how are you using them to serve others?
I would say that, again, I would say that I was always interested in the metaphysical and the esoteric. I remember that my first foray into the woo-woo is very much through feng shui first when I was in my teens. And then I moved on towards like Bazi astrology. But because at that time it was very much about, oh, you need to do all the right things, study hard, get good grades, get a job and all that. And anything that doesn't fit into the category of a traditional career path, those are not encouraged. Those get actively dismissed. And because becoming an astrologer or energy healer, all those things don't fit the box of the typical 9-to-5 job. That's why it was something that I dabbled with, but didn't really consider as a viable career option. And therefore it sort of got left to the wayside. And it's only with the experiences of the loss of my father and also the chain of events that happened after my youngest son was conceived that kind of got me thinking, well, if I've done all of the things, if I did all the box ticking, everything that people have been saying that I was supposed to do, and none of this is working out anyway.
Yeah.
Why not go the other way and actually explore the things that I really kind of want to get into? Because, I feel like the path that is known, the path that is predictable, that didn't seem to work out for me. So I kind of felt like that was time to try out a new path. And therefore, that's when I started to use my time to actively explore all of the different modalities and to be more conscious in working with those energies in order to intentionally co-create with life itself.
Beautiful. Well, and I just have to share that I have had a session with you, and you're an amazing practitioner, and your intuition, your insight, what you are able to tap into is really, really helpful. And you have such a nurturing way to create the container and space that we're in. Whether we just did it on Zoom, so I can see even doing in-person sessions with you could be even more potent. But I really appreciated all the wisdom that you shared and just the insight that you offered from our session. So thank you for that. And good job for listening to yourself to just take this other path, because you just seem like you're in your authentic self, and that's what the world needs, quite honestly. So good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, what does radical self-expression mean to you, and how has it played a role in your journey?
Radical self-expression to me is speaking your truth, even if it makes other people feel uncomfortable, even if it challenges what is considered the status quo. I feel like that is radical self-expression. And in all honesty, I don't feel like that needs to be radical, because ultimately it is self-expression. It's only radical from the perspective that most of us don't feel free to say what we want when we want. And there's this tendency to self-censor or to dilute or water down what is really the truth that's in our hearts, simply because we think that we will get punished, we will not receive love, we will be ostracized or whatever. And that's why we contort ourselves and our expressions in a way that's unnatural. And so therefore, that unnatural expression of conforming to the ways in which expression is accepted or not accepted, that's the norm. But just because it's the norm, that doesn't mean that it is authentic and it doesn't necessarily feel right or that it's healthy. So really, I would very much like for radical self-expression to not be that radical, because essentially what it means is that we get to be expressing our truths from the heart, from the soul, freely, as we should. And that becomes the new norm.
A woman, amen to that. Please and thank you. Well, Dr. Zach Bush has done a study where authenticity is the highest vibration versus love. I always thought love was the highest vibration, but when people are actually in their authentic selves or authentic expression, that's the highest vibration, and that's what will lift the frequency of the planet. So good job for being in your authenticity. You're helping the world and just being an example for women too, and women business owners to be able to come into those parts of ourselves and show up in authentic ways that maybe we haven't in the past. But it's those little baby steps getting there, I think, are really essential and important for our just growth and just for humanity on a whole.
Yeah, most certainly.
Yeah.
And I think the key really is to actually start listening to the voices within first and foremost, because the way in which we start to express ourselves authentically begins with us hearing what's true for us within. And for so long, we've been told to dismiss it, disregard it, to the point where we even gaslight ourselves. And then we don't know what to say and how to feel or know what we truly want, because we have been in this pattern for so long of just self-censorship, self-dismissal to our own inner knowings and our truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just out of curiosity, for people that are listening that don't always listen to that inner knowing or intuition, do you have any guidance as to how you've come into listening to your intuition or that inner knowing that could be helpful for others?
I would say that for me, because the way in which I started my journey is very much from the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the reason why looking at natal charts, whether it's from a Bazi Chinese astrology perspective or Western astrology perspective, is because my mind needs to give itself permission to access information from the unknown by actually seeing the data in some way, shape, or form. So therefore, looking at the charts where there are data points based on your date and time and place of birth, that was kind of the foot through the door, so to speak. So therefore, my logical mind needed those charts in order to give myself permission to understand myself beyond the scope of what I know of myself from that logical perspective.
Beautiful.
So it's through the chart work that I was able to then look at the potential possibilities of, based on my charts, I can actually tap into my intuition on a much greater magnitude and scale. So it's from there that I allowed myself to then dive in deeper and to look at other methodologies and practices that allows me to then connect more deeper with my intuition and to receive the downloads that I do. So in terms of practices, well, I'll say for one thing, like I said, the chart work gave me permission. But if you don't feel the need to have chart work to give yourself the permission to go explore, and you're okay with exploration now, what I would say is the best thing to do is to still, first and foremost, connect with the body by connecting with the breath. And because, well, for one thing, we are all in need of breath in order to receive life. even if, let's say, if it's not convenient in terms of mobility or access or whatever, we can all still take time to connect with the breath wherever we are. And by having that time and space to connect with the breath, so you are really feeling into your body, and to carve out that time of solitude as well, where you are not being bombarded or overstimulated by any external noise and other people's projections and opinions and all sorts, then it allows you to start detangling from what is external, what's outside of you, any projections, any sort of conditionings. And then you will start to be able to go inwards, and from that place, listen to the whispers of your soul. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm glad I asked. Thank you. So, Rebekah, how do folks find you online?
Well, I'm mostly active on Instagram, so they can look for my handle, instagram.com/wusingwitch. And I do also have a presence online through Facebook and my website, but I'm really mostly active on Instagram. So yeah, so it's mainly Instagram and my website that people can find me online.
And that's UUXING witch?
Yes.
.com? Okay, good. And did you have any upcoming events or things that folks could tune into in the future?
Well, I am launching my Fire Horse 2026 masterclass because the year of the Fire Horse begins on the 4th of February 2026. So this is really an opportunity to try and understand what the upcoming year's energies are, so we are better able to prepare for it and decide whether do we walk the path of brilliance versus burnout. So that's kind of what I've got upcoming at the moment.
Okay. And will that be available on your website?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, awesome. And do you have any final words for our listeners?
I would say that in terms of final words, it's very much linked to what's upcoming in the year of the Fire Horse with 2026. We are very much in a very pivotal year that's upcoming, and we do have choices as to whether do we choose to cling on to the energies of the old that's outdated, that needs to really be put to bed, versus welcoming the new, fresh, dynamic energy of really embracing the path of working with more feminine principles to really rebalance the overemphasis, the unhealthy versions of masculine energies that have been manifesting in the past few decades. So it's to really have that opportunity to harness those feminine principles, to rebalance, to reintegrate, so we may become more whole in using the divine masculine and feminine principles together in a healthier way as we begin to create a new earth that is coming to us from the year 2027 onwards.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, thank you, Rebekah. This has been a wonderful conversation. I'm deeply grateful for your time. And thank you to our listeners for tapping in. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and Community Power rocks. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me on this journey of empowerment and connection on the My Body, My Power podcast. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who inspires you. Together, we're creating a ripple effect of confidence, courage, and light. Until next time, Goddess, keep shining your power.